Macho badasses Sylvester Stallone, Terry Crews, and Danny Trejo together at last in an ensemble drama about self-empowerment and believing in yourself.
The fuck is this?
Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and however else you wish to self-identify, to the very first episode of TFIT, a podcast about obscure movies, and not, as some of you may be realizing just now, a yoga and fitness studio in Powell River, BC, which I looked, and that is the only other thing on the internet that has this name. So just in case they're a little sore about us borrowing it, let me give a huge shout out right now to TFIT Training Center, a Nourish Yoga and Wellness Studio located in the Crossroads Village Shopping Center in Powell River. My chakra has never felt more aligned. This is not a paid promotion. I'm just a fan. My name is Kaz Lesgard. I'm your host this evening, and joining me on tonight's show is my co-host, Jameson Rafter.
Hello, Kaz.
Hello, Jameson. So, a little bit for you at home. I am an actor and avid movie lover, currently residing in Vancouver, British Columbia.
I also reside in Vancouver, British Columbia. By profession, by trade, if you will, I work in a video game studio as a quality assurance tester, but I am an avid fledgling screenwriter and voice actor.
And we met through mutual friends, and we discovered we had a somewhat good rapport.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been
A
wanting
good
to...
tit-a-tat.
Yes, I provide the tat, you provide the tit, or
Do
vice
I
versa.
ever?
Well, you know, some weeks I feel I bring the tit. And this is a show that I've been wanting to try and throw together for a while now. I've always been fascinated, not just with all types of movies, but with the lost and dwindling video store experience of wandering around the aisles of your local rental place and picking through the selections with your own hands. Now, as a young man, and even as a not-so-young man, I'd go to these extinct places and just rent a ton of movies, which now, of course, we can just stream whenever we want, because we're living in the future.
Those Ma and Pa video stores still exist, though.
They do. I think we only have one left in Vancouver currently right now. We have Black Dog. But I remember they were everywhere. I mean, I remember the golden days of Blockbuster. But I also have Rogers Video. There's always a type of movie that fascinated me when I would go and I would rent all of these movies. It's a very specific movie. It isn't beholden to any one particular genre. It's the type of movie that you're wandering through the aisles and you see it sitting there. It makes you stop. And you pick it up, you look at the cover, you flip it over, you read the back, you take a note of which famous and respected actors are starring in it, and you say to yourself, the fuck is this? And that's the name of the podcast. TFIT. The fuck is this? Because despite its cast, director, or premise, it's still a film that you have heard nothing about and cannot fathom what it could be. And tonight's movie is no exception. It's never an exception, because that's the concept of the show that we're doing right now. I found this movie, talking about things that are extinct, that don't exist anymore, I found this movie during the big clearance at HMV, downtown on Robson, about 2 years ago. I went in and everything was on sale. They were selling the shelves.
I remember when that HMV was having a going out of business sale. And I was there to just
Yes, that's the thing I'm talking about. Yeah.
And I went there like just specifically to see like whatever I could get my hands on. And the person who was selling me the material asked me if I wanted to sign up for like the HMV membership, whatever, to be reimbursed for.
He was still on like the zombified like script.
Yeah,
that they made
I'm like, buddy, like, do you not understand the concept of a going out of business sale?
Well, it was at that going out of business sale that I grabbed just a ton of movies. And I had a TFIT experience because I saw the DVD cover of the movie that we are watching this evening.
I can't wait. I've never even heard of this movie. No. I'm going in completely blind.
Neither had I. Tonight's movie is a 2014 ensemble drama film called Reach Me. And I have the DVD cover in my hands right now. Jameson, you have not seen this.
I have not seen this.
So I'm going to show you the DVD cover, and I want your first unbiased opinion on what you think this movie could be just based on the box alone. And we will include a link where you can click and you can take a look at what the cover looks like yourself as we're describing it right now. We'll try to describe it as best as we can. Or you can just Google search, if we're feeling lazy and we don't end up doing it. But take a look at that right here.
All right, here we go.
And describe what you see.
All right, first reaction starting now. Oh! Oh, wow!
Cheap as hell.
Very cheap as hell. Very poorly photoshopped. I see 3 charismatic leading men. Some better actors than others.
And an odd trio, to be certain.
Yeah. So it's called Reach Me. Beneath that is the French title Collateral.
Collateral. Which makes me wonder what the French title of the movie Collateral is.
Yeah. I'll just jump into the actors I see here. So right in the center, big blown up head, is Sly Stallone, looking really disappointed in his career choices.
Hoping someone will reach him.
Yeah, wishing that Expendables 3 really was a better
was a better hit. Yeah.
To his right is Thomas Jane, who I feel is very underappreciated as an actor.
He's very good. He's very good. He's had a rough go of things. He's in a ton of TFIT movies. Yeah.
His haircut is looking pretty shaggy.
Oh yeah. He's pretty shaggy.
He looks like he's playing his homeless character from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Like, I just want my kids back. And to his left, last but certainly not least, is Frasier himself, Kelsey Grammer. Rocking a bitchin' mustache.
Just a big old stash.
Wow, that is a mustache on the guy.
Not the first time some people might remember that Sylvester Stallone and Kelsey Grammer have worked together. In the same year, 2014, they were both in The Expendables 3.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That weird fucking thing where you're looking at Expendables 3 is all right, let's see what tough guys we got for Expendables 3. We got Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson and Kelsey Grammer playing a role originally earmarked, no bullshit, for Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
which would have been. I love Kelsey Grammer.
And I love Nicolas Cage.
He is not a substitution for Nicolas Cage whatsoever. Yeah, and then
further down at the bottom of the box here, I see a very slapdash Photoshop of what looks like a police car with its back wheel exploding, and Tom Jane holding a magnum gun shooting fire by the looks of it. And the tag "Stop at Nothing" in very sensible font.
And this also has something that drives me crazy when I see it on movie posters. And, like some movies like to advertise it's from the director of and from the writer of. This movie has from the producer of
Lawless and The Butler.
Lee Daniels the Butler, which is very important because otherwise...
Maybe it's not that The Butler.
No, maybe it's the silent black and white 1920s movie that forced them to put... You heard about that, right?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So when Lee Daniels came out with The Butler, it was originally just called The Butler, but then the movie studio, I think it might have even been the Weinsteins, the movie studio forced him to change the title because they said it held like a copyright on this
dating back to the 20s.
Obscure 1928 black and white silent film called The Butler, and
they were just this close to rebooting.
And Lee Daniels was just like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" It's all like, "All right, fine, Lee Daniels the Butler. People are gonna assume I have a massive ego." He kind of does, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
But it's like so many movies have the same title. There are 3 movies off the top of my head that are called Life.
Yes.
One is a Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy comedy. One is a James Dean biopic, and the other is that Jake Gyllenhaal Alien movie that came out last year.
Right.
Yeah, no one forced them to say, like Eddie Murphy's Life or anything like that. I don't know. I thought that was dumb.
That reminds me of, speaking of Nick Cage, the classic Face Off. You know why there's a slash in that title, right?
I'm assuming you'll tell me.
People would not confuse it with a hockey movie. They need to know exactly what this movie is
about.
There's
no slashers.
No. Because there's no stupid hockey in this movie.
Because if there's one thing I know about hockey, there's no slashing. There's no slashing involved.
Boy.
So the DVD cover here shows us that this is a movie that has Sylvester Stallone, Kelsey Grammer, and Thomas Jane. But this is an ensemble drama. Also in this cast are tough guys Terry Crews, Danny Trejo.
Love him.
Who's in a ton of TFIT movies.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Oscar nominees Danny Aiello, and Tom Berenger.
Mm-hmm.
We have Lauren Cohan from The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Kevin Connolly from Entourage. Carrie Elwes.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Dread Pirate Roberts himself.
Yep. Kyra Sedgwick. Tom Sizemore.
Oh, no.
And Nellie.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Wait, I think that's John.
You're doing Little John, but yeah. No. Hot and her Nellie.
Yeah, oh boy.
Yeah. Country Grammar meets Kelsey Grammer.
Oh, God.
I'm very proud
boy.
of that one. So, some context here. Reach Me is a film that is a passion project. It was written and directed by one man, John Hertzfeld. Now, John Hertzfeld has been in the industry for a while. He got his start by directing a pair of ABC after-school specials starring Scott Baio. One where he becomes involved with marijuana, and another about two teenagers learning to cope with their wheelchairs.
Oh, lovely.
Mm-hmm, yes, and he won some daytime TV awards for that.
Do they have like medical marijuana? Is that like a sequel?
No, this was marijuana, the devil's weed, or something like that.
The devil's weed.
Yes,
a little redundant there, but I see your point.
It's a movie that the modern day Scott Baio, I assume, would also star in. His first theatrical film was the notorious 1983 flop Two of a Kind, which was the first big screen reunion of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John after Grease. Two of a Kind, if you've never heard about it, is a movie where John Travolta plays a bank robber, and Olivia Newton-John is the bank teller who, unbeknownst to him, switches the money with banknotes in his bag, and she robs the money from him.
Okay.
And they sort of have like a bit of like a romantic back and forth, will they, won't they? You know, like, I know you robbed the bank, but I actually robbed the bank, so maybe if you want the money, you gotta get together with me. But
that sounds like a stupid premise for a movie.
But also, I'm not there yet. A subplot of this movie is that while all of this is happening, God Almighty, voiced by Gene Hackman, is deciding to send a new plague down to Earth, and his angels have selected these two people as the people to change his mind. That is the plot of Two of a Kind. Yes. It was nominated for numerous Golden Raspberry Awards, and it was the first movie he directed. His filmography has not gotten better. His other theatrical movies include 2 Days in the Valley, which is another ensemble movie. It was one of Charlize Theron's first
Early
roles.
roles, I see.
15 Minutes, which is Robert
How many minutes he has in a spotlight?
Yeah, Robert De Niro, Edward Burns cop drama. Which also had Kelsey Grammer in it. And he's also directed a score of television biopics, including Casualties of Love, the Long Island Lolita story, starring Alyssa Milano as Amy Fisher. And in the movie that probably overall seems to be, from what I can find, his best reviewed film is Don King, Only in America, which earned Ving Rhames a Golden Globe, a well-known Golden Globe in the history of that award show, because that was the moment where he got up, started his acceptance speech, and then in the middle of his acceptance speech gave his award away to Jack Lemmon. And it's just, if you look at the clip on YouTube, it's a moment where you can just look at Ving Rhames and you just see, like, this man is filled with so much humility. And it's just such a wonderful gesture where you know, this younger actor is just all like, I won an award. I'm going to give it to one of the best actors ever alive. And, like, Jack Lemmon literally gets Jack Lemmon to come up to the stage. So, like, take this. Jack Lemmon is just, like, speechless. He's just, like, I really don't. Thank you, I guess.
You sure, Ving Rhames, you don't want to have this? It seems to me like the star quality of his movies just go considerably downwards. Nothing against, Ving Rhames and Alyssa Milano. But when one of your first films is like featuring Gene Hackman and like
John Travolta
and Julie Newton, like the height of the Grease fame, I imagine. It seems like, you should potentially the sky's the limit. You should only be going upwards from there.
Now, Reach Me is a long-term passion project for Hertzfeld. He said that the two influences that got him to come up with the idea for this script, the first influence was Napoleon Hill's 1937 self-help book, Think and Grow Rich. Now, this is a 12-step book that asserts that desire, faith, and persistence can propel one to great heights if one can suppress negative thoughts and focus on long-term goals. I looked this book up. Some of my favorite chapters or steps of the book are autosuggestion, power of the mastermind, and my personal favorite, The Mystery of Sex Transmutation.
Jesus.
So yeah.
I was gonna say, these sound like pulp novels, like pulp science fiction novels.
Power of the Mastermind.
Power of the Mastermind.
Yeah, so it's this.
Woo!
Yeah, it's like this 1937 self-help book, and he also said he was inspired by an experience when he was a young man with very little money in his pocket. He went to go see famous televangelist Reverend Ike, who was a New Age theologist whose slogan was, "You can't lose with the stuff I use."
Oh, boy.
Now, he was heavily criticized for being money-grubbing. He had almost an Ayn Rand, sort of an Ayn Rand sort of philosophy.
Objectivist.
Yeah. He was credited at one time of saying, the best thing you can do for the poor is not to be one of them.
Okay.
So it's these two
Did he later go on to start a pyramid scheme?
Oh, yes.
Sound like
he would go on television, he'd go on the radio, and he was that type of reverend who basically is just like, send me your money, send me all the money.
Salvation is only yours for like 5 easy payments.
I need a jet. God needs a jet. God needs a taco bar. And he was absolutely one of those guys.
That old George Carlin bit, like,
yeah,
God always needs money.
George Carlin may very well, I can't say this with any assurance, but he may have well been referring to Reverend Ike. I think he was one of like the top people.
Snake oil salesman.
Snake oil salesman, absolutely.
Yeah, salesman.
So based on those two things, Think and Grow Rich and this Reverend Ike guy, you'd assume that Reach Me was about making money or con artists or something like that. But while Hertzfeld had kept the idea of a self-help book, Reach Me really isn't about money at all. It's more about self-empowerment, believing in yourself kind of idea. Now, Hertzfeld has assembled his ensemble cast in large part because of his friendship with Sylvester Stallone. The two were roommates while students at the University of Miami. Hertzfeld actually has a small acting role in Stallone's 1986 film Cobra. He's one of the goons in the movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch Cobra now.
Yes, if you want to see exactly who Hertzfeld is, he's the goon who Stallone sets on fire during the film's climax. He's that guy. Yeah, so they've been friends for a while, and in 2009, Hertzfeld directed a 90-minute documentary called Inferno, The Making of the Expendables, which I can only assume is available on the DVD of the Expendables, just as like supplemental filler. And I can also assume that Stallone did Reach Me as sort of returning the favor for Hertzfeld.
Shooting it on the cheap.
Doing the documentary. He was probably the one that got Terry Crews and Kelsey Grammer involved in the movie because they were both in Expendables 3, which came out the same year. Apparently, almost everyone involved in this movie took massive pay cuts to get the movie made.
No shit.
Which means, like, some of them, at the very least, read this script and thought to themselves, I must make this movie. This is a movie that must be told.
Yeah.
Or it was a decent 2-day vacation for them.
Yeah, they wanted to put it in a patio or something.
As we will see here. Well, based on everything I've just told you, what are your thoughts going into this? Now, the way this podcast works is that one of us is going to bring a movie, and they're going to, do research on the movie to make sure it's actually something worth talking about so we're not boring your ear off. The other person is going in blind. Jameson has not seen this. He has no idea what he's about to see. So we're going to go to a commercial break. I say commercial break. We don't have any sponsors yet. Brief pause where we put in some awesome public domain music for you to rock out to. And then through the magic of the internet, by the time we come back, we'll have both watched this movie.
How many times have you seen this film already?
This will be my third time seeing this movie, and I can tell you right off the start, that is 3 times too many to watch this. I normally going into this, I don't want to get into the habit of spoiling things.
Please don't.
This is not good. This is not good. This is not a good movie at all, but it is...
I bet it's fascinating.
It's fascinating how bad it is.
Yeah, and
so
I couldn't be happier to have you to here as my Sherpa,
yes,
as my guide to get me through the hard times. I'm looking forward to this.
So I kind of can't wait. So we're gonna dive into that right now. We'll see you all after the break with our thoughts on John Hertzfeld's passion project, Reach Me. What does that even mean?
Reach Me?
Just that name. Just when that name hits your...
A better title would have been Retch Me. Well, everyone, pray for me.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right, and we are back.
Oh my
that
God.
was, I believe, 92 minutes later, 92 minutes
just better for
richer.
The experience.
I think I said at the beginning of that, this is the third time I've seen this movie, and hopefully it'll be the last time I ever have to watch this movie. I have completely come around on that. I think this is one of my favorite terrible fucking movies.
There's a lot to like in this movie.
There really is.
But, like, for the wrong reasons, of course.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Like, this is meant to be like a sort of like a serious ensemble drama. You kind of get a feeling...
Drama? I didn't get drama from that.
I didn't get drama from this at all. It's a weird... Like, there are moments of intentional humor sprinkled throughout this. Lots of unintentional humor as well, but definitely moments that are meant to be played for comedy.
Yeah.
You get the feeling that he's trying to do something that feels like a... You said Get Shorty.
It feels like a very stylized, LA chic, fast-paced black comedy.
Yeah, it kind of
feels... And that's exactly what they were going for, but in just the dumbest way. Like
it kind of feels a little bit like Get Shorty mixed with Crash. In the sense that there are these multiple stories going on, and they're all tied to them trying to say something bigger, but instead of racism, it's like believing in yourself, or like getting past your getting past your own like personal shit, and then trying to become like a better person or whatnot. Let me briefly go into the plot. I'll give as concise a synopsis of this movie's plot as I can. So the movie centers on a book called Reach Me. It is written by this mysterious author, Teddy Raymond, who does not make public appearances. No one knows what he looks like, but apparently his book has captured a nation. Everyone is talking about it. Did you get that it was sort of meant to be like a parallel to like The Secret?
The Secret.
It kind of felt like because like The Secret had like a brief flash in the pan when it was the thing that everyone was talking about, Oprah was talking about and everything. But in this movie, this book
it's taken on a life of its own to the point where like celebrities are like,
endorsing it.
It's I would like equate it more or less to Scientology that regard.
It feels a little cultish at sometimes, right? Yeah, it feels a little weird. It feels like there's this there's this weird sort of Ayn Rand sort of thing going on where they're sort of building Teddy Raymond up to maybe be sort of like a John Galt parallel.
Yeah. Who is Teddy Raymond?
Who is Teddy Raymond? And, the answer may surprise you. It will surprise you.
He's a beach bum.
In a way that is just instantly lets all of the air out of the entire movie.
He is some kind of miracle worker who will get you to quit smoking, who will help you stop your stutter. It'll make you like a better person and like get you out of jail.
It'll lead you away from a life of crime.
Lead you away from all of society's ills, and yet like the little bits of snippets that we picked up from like his advice from like big characters. And I'm sure we'll get into this later, but it just seemed kind of bogus.
I have there's a couple times where the movie actually shows us the inside of the book Reach Me, and we get to have moments where we get to actually read the words that Teddy Raymond has written down. I paused a scene at one point and I actually wrote it down. Here's an example of the tome of what inspires the characters in the book. It's stuff like, do not waste your potential. All of us have the inherent ability to be successful and achieve our dreams. If you don't realize your potential, you are wasting your life. Time is the enemy. We only have so much, so right now, sit down and outline your goals. It's hardly revolutionary thinking. It kind of seems like just the sort of thing that like a high school guidance counselor might get you to do.
It's 2 or 3 fortune cookies stitched together.
And that's the problem in narrative film where, in this movie, he's a self-help author, but it's the same thing when like you're writing, you're doing a movie about a composer or a lyricist or like an impressionist or anyone who has like this amazing talent.
A gifted.
Yeah, and the whole point is that like if it's like a musician, like, and everyone spends the entire movie talking about how amazing this musician is, when you finally hear the musician play,
they better be a fucking goddamn.
They better be amazing. So you write yourself into a corner constantly. So yeah, the movie is about this book. It's about the book's effect on
everyone who reads it, everyone who comes in contact.
Well, not even people who read it, because there are certain characters who we follow through a good chunk of the movie that never read the book. But essentially, there's about 4 or 5 storylines going on here, and they
also people just kind of happen upon the book. Like one guy finds the book in a bathroom, one guy finds the book in prison.
Well, I'll go through the cast here. I'll go through the separate storylines that we have here.
Our cavalcade of characters.
So the people who are affected by this book. First of all, we have Kyra Sedgwick, who's playing Colette. When the movie starts, she's in prison, and
just about to be released.
Wants to be an aspiring fashion designer.
Like Project Runway.
Like Project Runway, as one character points out at one point in time.
Yes,
because
exactly.
we wouldn't know what a fashion designer is without...
I design dresses for fashion shows.
Oh, you mean like Project Runway?
Yes!
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah!
Yeah, and she has this infatuation, you might say, with Teddy Raymond. At one point in time, she's driving with another character, and she said, I read the book, and I just felt like, he needs me. And
why was she in prison to begin with?
Because as we found out later, she committed arson. She had a fight with her ex-husband, and she burned down their house.
Which she later remarked she wished that he was in the house.
Yes.
So this woman probably should be institutionalized.
She's a little nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing about her character arc is, you see Kyra Sedgwick at the beginning.
First scene of the movie, like inches away from another woman's ass.
Yeah, 3 minutes into this movie, she gets into a prison fight where she just gets flipped hard into a stack of chairs.
Yeah.
The other woman,
like WWE style,
pulls her pants down and literally forces her to kiss her exposed naked ass 3 minutes into the movie, and then Kyra Sedgwick just takes a chair, cracks it over her back, and goes back to watching the show on the television that she wanted to. And everything we're led to believe about this character is that she kind of has like a screw loose, but she goes to some interesting places in the movie. I'll get to that a little bit later. So we have her character. Now her connector is connected to another character named Eve, who is her niece from London.
Strangely enough.
Who is an aspiring actress who, in her first role ever on a television show, is doing a lovemaking scene with an actor named Kersey, who's played by Cary Elwes. And
who's a bit of a creep.
Is a bit of a creep. The weird thing about Cary Elwes' character in this is Cary Elwes is a British actor, and he's done American accents before, but he's doing a British accent in this movie, and it sounds like the most fake British accent ever, and it's so strange because that's... Basically, he's calling people governor. Yeah.
He's doing what an English person would be doing an American actor's impression of an English person, like a totally exaggerated version of it.
So Eve, Colette's niece, is in this scene with this actor, and they're doing a lovemaking scene, and it's heavily implied, and then later... Actually, I shouldn't say heavily implied, because it is what happens. It's just the terrible way that it's filmed. But anyway, she's sexually assaulted on camera in this lovemaking scene. So that's her arc. Also in the film, we have Thomas Jane as Wolfie, who is
Cowboy Wolfie,
who is a hotshot police detective who has an addiction to murder. He is trapped in this loop of gunning down vicious criminals and then immediately going to his neighborhood priest, Father Paul, played by Danny Aiello, to confess his sins. Father Paul is an alcoholic. That's kind of all we get to know about him.
It doesn't seem to me that Tom Jane's character is at all remorseful about it. He sees it as like in the line of duty. The priest character thinks, no, you are somehow getting some thrill out of killing people,
right?
And that's what It's not Tom Jane that has a problem with the killing. It's the priest that has a problem with the killing.
One of my favorite.
Whereas Tom Jane is just doing his goddamn job.
He seems to be going to confession solely to just in case there is a God. He wants to cover all of his bases. He's not really going because he feels this weight on his soul. It's just just to be sure. Yeah, and that's sort of his. Lots of things to say about Tom Jane's character. Our third story arc concerns Kevin Connolly from Entourage playing Roger, who is this investigative journalist who we can see in the seconds that he is introduced. His character arc is that he's going to want to quit smoking. He's a heavy smoker. We see him
rip off the patch in frustration and defiance, or not defiance, but in frustration.
And then immediately light up a cigarette. Yeah.
With
So Roger is a journalist, and he is given a job by his editor, Gerald, who is played amazingly by Sylvester Stallone. Every second, we're gonna get into Stallone.
There's a lot to say.
We're gonna get into Stallone in this movie.
Oh,
but every second he is on screen, he is an utter delight. But again,
he's from a completely different movie.
Not the way you would assume. And the fourth storyline, I guess that's the end of the storyline. There really are kind of like four. There's some more, but our fourth storyline concerns mobster boss Frank, who's played by Tom Sizemore, who. God, these characters. This is one of the more...
He doesn't really have much of an arc.
Befuddling character arcs. Okay, let's go into this first, because there's lots that I want to talk about this character arc, and then we can circle back and we can talk about some of the other characters.
The characters that the movie's about.
So, okay, first of all, we get this scene where we're introduced to Frank, who's this mob boss. Now, we first see Frank, as most mob bosses often are, or captain. I guess he's like a captain in the mob army, but he definitely has a position of power.
Yeah.
He has these two goons, Dominic and Thumper, and when we first see him, he gives them a job to go and track down this character named Tommy. Now, Tommy is a German budding film director?
Something like that.
I guess. And
a bit of a hack.
Wash-up film director whose girlfriend is this woman that Tom Sizemore's character met in night school and has an infatuation with. Now, Tommy, I need to go through this step by step because it's so convoluted. Tommy borrowed money from Frank to make a high-def movie. About this girl that they're in love with. The name of the girl is Denise.
What was that name again? It sounds like you're repeating yourself.
It does sound like I'm repeating myself. But in fact, the name of the character is Denise, and they reference the fact that...
It's from a song. And everyone says, oh yeah, that song.
This is such a weird... I'm going to go and I'm going to play a little bit of this right now, just so you can hear the opening dialogue that Tom Sizemore has to say about this, because it's so bafflingly written. And just remember that this is the first time we're seeing this character. There's no other scene that sets up this character whatsoever. Here it is. This is what he has to say.
Anyway, look, I'm about $100 grand to make this high-def movie. Made a few payments, skipped. Now he's German. I want him to hurt bad. I want you to turn his nose into mush.
It's just bafflingly written. Like, I want to break down what he says here. He gets Dominic and Thumper to go track them down, beat up Tommy, get the money back, and shoot Tommy's dachshund. Beezy, and shoot the dog. But, like, I just want to say this. He says, anyway, Tommy borrowed $100 grand to make this high-def movie, made a few payments, then he skipped. Now he's German. I want him hurt bad. Just that collection of information together makes no sense. Why throw in the fact that he's German right in the middle of it there? That has nothing to do...
Is that a stereotype of German people that I've just never heard of before?
I guess, but
like,
it's the...
Dad with money or...
It's the way he listed it.
Yeah.
He borrowed money to get this movie. He skipped town. He's
German.
He's German. I want him hurt bad. What an odd way to give information to your
Heads up,
characters.
he's German, so...
So anyway, Dominic and Thumper go off, and Thumper, who's a little slow, it's implied that he has somewhat of a learning disability.
He's looking to, like, turn a new leaf for this character, though. He's found Reach Me.
He's the one that found Reach Me in a McDonald's... bathroom,
and he wants to turn his life around based on,
which is where we get to see how Hertzfeld shoots flashbacks
Mm-hmm.
in this world. He goes full Schindler's List.
It's black and white.
It's black and white. The only thing that is any
the
color...
The object of interest is colored in this.
Is the object of interest. Most of the time, it's the book reach me. Kyra Sedgwick flashes back to doing laundry at one point.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was about.
It just showed up out of nowhere.
That-
It's
you
never
just look
brought up again.
And over the course, they find Tommy and Denise. They stake them out at this cheap motel. The hotel owner is played by Frank Stallone, who does many of the film's terrific songs.
Yeah, they wanted to get Dolph Lundgren for it, but he was unavailable.
That would have been incredible. So this entire time they're sitting in the car. Thumper is really getting into this book. Dominic just keeps telling him to shut up.
He's the one. Well, he wants Thumper to kill the dog because he mentions that in his youth he saw a childhood friend get attacked by a Dachshund, and therefore he won't go anywhere near the dog. So he needs Thumper to do the killing for him.
That's Dominic's arc. Yeah, he can't get near a dog. Yeah, I mean, and the dog is shown to be like vicious throughout it. The dog seems to hate Denise.
Most people.
Most people.
Yeah.
This storyline is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tommy is a ridiculous character, but I want to talk about these characters. I want to talk about these characters, Dominic and Thumper, because they start off the movie going one way, and then they go in a completely different direction.
They are, in my opinion, the heart of the movie.
So in this scene where they've broken into the motel.
They've tied up Denise and the German fella.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Dominic is punching Tommy in the face over and over again because that's what Frank told him to do. And Thumper's just in the corner reading his book, and Dominic loses it on him, and he grabs the book and he throws it against the wall.
I've been taking care of you since we were in the third grade.
And that is my favorite revelation in this movie. The fact that in this moment, he says, I have been taking care of you since I was in the third grade. I had to stop at that moment. I had to look it up. So Dominic is played by an actor named Omari Hardwick. He's been in some stuff. He's in that show Power that 50 Cent produces for Stars, I think. He was also in that movie Sorry to Bother You. That we saw. He was the dude, the dude with the eye patch that spoke with Patton Oswalt's voice. So that's Omari Hardwick. And Thumper is played by a Scottish actor named David O'Hara, who had a pretty memorable role in Braveheart as that crazy Irishman.
Okay.
If you remember that, which is odd because he's a Scottish actor. But so these are the two actors that have been chosen for these roles.
These tough guy roles.
Omari Hardwick is 10 years younger than David O'Hara is, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, very noticeable.
It's very noticeable that there is a big age difference between these characters. So
they mentioned that he's slow. Maybe they're implying that he was held back a couple of years.
So this movie is implying that, like, a 9-year-old black kid in the third grade befriended and became the primary caregiver to an 18-year-old Scottish teenager. And they had a lifelong friendship that ended in them becoming goons for the mob. Why aren't we watching that movie?
That is a fascinating story.
Doesn't that seem like that's the story we should be following?
And not only that, like, that premise takes an interesting turn when they have the falling out, and he chases them out of the hotel room, and then he has wait! Come back, I didn't mean what I said, and...
So they chase them out to the motel parking lot, where Dominic reveals that, just like his father, he has a heart murmur, and his life could essentially end at any point.
And he doesn't want to work for
he doesn't want to work for Frank anymore. Thumper was right. Thumper was right the entire time, and that's when Thumper says, "You're a good cook. You've always wanted to open a restaurant. Let's go and do it." And then they do.
He calls up
Frank.
Quits on the
spot.
His dangerous crime lord, whatever.
And of course, while all of this is happening and Dominic is coming to this realization, there just happens to be a small black child playing hopscotch in the motel.
This scene takes place in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, in a motel parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
where are your parents?
And of course, like as Dominic is having this thing, he meets eyes with this child who's the spitting image of him when he was a young boy.
I half expected the kid to give him like sort of a nod,
yeah,
like go
yeah.
for it.
He gives him a little smile. Yeah. He got like a little knowing smile. So yeah, they open a restaurant, but
guess who gets to pick the theme?
We're gonna talk about that in a bit. But my God, these characters.
Yeah.
There's more to talk about Frank, but do you want to talk about anything? Yeah.
Should we talk about what happens with Frank in the aftermath of them quitting at the golf course? Who shows?
Should we talk about that now? Okay, let's go right into that. So, without a doubt, I'm gonna play this as well because this is the best introduction in the entire movie.
It's probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
So we're talking about the characters that are directly related to the storyline, but there's a smattering of other characters that kind of are just sort of like also there, but don't have like a direct impact on the plot. And one of them is Kelsey Grammer. Mm-hmm. Now, Kelsey Grammer plays the main mob boss.
Yeah, Frank's boss.
And despite being on the DVD cover with his name listed before Sylvester Stallone, this is the only scene of the movie that he is in. But this is his introduction. Just listen to this. All right, Frank is on the golf course like he always is. Mm-hmm. Tom Sizemore he spends 80% of this movie playing golf. Mm-hmm. And then he's talking on the phone with someone.
Words can't do it justice. Just gotta play it.
Just listen to it right here.
I gotta go.
Sir, we do not allow carts on the green here.
Heard your men quit.
Gotta get the money.
Out here. On the 6th hole. What par 4?
Isn't that amazing?
And what's amazing is that they pick up, so that's just like a random attendant working at the golf course that he just knocks out, and then his two goons pick him up, throw him into the water hazard. We never see that character again. It's very possible that he just drowned.
Yeah.
That he just off to this random dude just doing his job.
And what I loved about that scene was Kelsey Grammer, like his actions just like called attention to it. Like he looks like he's going to be hamming it up in this scene, but then in his dialogue and
without a doubt, the best performance in the movie.
Absolutely,
he's in it for 3 minutes, but he gives the best performance in the movie. Mm-hmm. I do want to point out that even though it's never said in the movie, Kelsey Grammer's character does have a name.
Oh, it's not Punchy.
His name is Angelo Aldo Brandini.
What?
This character has 3 minutes of screen time. His name is never said online, but his name in the credits is the longest name out of any character. There's a weird theme with these gangster characters where it seems to be the main thing that seems to be driving them is lack of respect from their bosses.
Yes.
Like Dominic and Thumper feel that. From Frank, and then Tom Sizemore feels that when Kelsey Grammer comes in, which leads to this amazing scene where Frank is driving his car. Listen to this music that's playing while Tom Sizemore, the villain, does not get redeemed throughout this, but this is the music that plays as he's driving through the desert.
Just wanna be loved. I want to feel don't want to stop. Lose my faith and begin again. It's gotta have feelings. It's gotta have meaning. 'Cause I need a reason.
He just wants to be loved, Jameson. he just wants to be loved, and then that leads
to... He slapped me. He slapped me.
And then it leads to him
and in his frustration, he takes it out on some
shooting bunnies
as he's driving by, not stopping to to shoot some rabbits. He just drives by some rabbits and tries to gangland shoot them.
Yep. Crashing into a sign, which leads to him getting out and exclaiming
worst-
shit, but oh my god, listen to the way Tom Sizemore says the word shit.
Like, that was like 5 different overdubs of the word
There's so
shit.
much like bass and treble on it. Hey everybody, thanks for listening along for so long here. There is so much to talk about this ridiculous movie. We didn't want to cut any of it out, but we also didn't want to bombard you with an over an hour long first episode of the podcast. So we decided to split it into 2. So we'll take a break right here, and if you want to hear more about this crazy, ridiculous movie, check in with part 2. You can follow the link to that. We'll pick up right where we left off. Thanks for listening. We hope you continue to listen, and we'll catch you next time.